Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
It all kicks off with a quiet rumor that flips everything we thought we knew about Snoop Dogg. For years, people saw him as that chill legend on TV, the smooth talker who turned his whole life around and became a household favorite. But what if that calm vibe is covering up something way darker? What if Snoop being close to Sean Diddy Combs isn't just business or friendly vibes at all, but a setup built on pressure, secrets, and silent fear? According to former bad boy bodyguard Gene Deal, Snoop's loyalty to Diddy doesn't come from trust. It comes from what Diddy allegedly got on him. We're talking hidden footage, private meetups, and the kind of dirt that could flip a whole career upside down. Gene is basically saying Diddy kept people close by making sure they could never walk away, and Snoop might be one of them.
Should I care? He did a whole lot of shit to a whole lot of people. And now he's paying for it. So all these cats, I guess y'all get y'all visitation rights. Some of y'all can get y'all conjugal visits right with him. I don't give a shit.
When Gene Deal speaks, the whole industry pays attention because almost nobody got closer to Diddy's private world than he did. For years, Deal moved like his shadow, traveling with him, eating with him, and guarding every secret. He even said he would have laid down his life for Diddy until everything flipped and he learned the man he protected had allegedly sent people after him. So when news broke in early 2025 that Diddy was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison, Deal didn't hold back for a second. "I can care less about his sadness," he told The Art of Dialogue, and that line shook the industry like a warning siren. It wasn't just anger, it was a hint that Diddy's whole empire was built on pressure, not real loyalty. And Deal claimed there were names tied to that system that nobody expected, Snoop included. By the time the judge delivered Diddy's sentence, 50 months locked up, a $500,000 fine, and 5 years of supervision, Homeland Security had already raided his spots in LA and Miami. Investigators reportedly uncovered digital recordings, photos, and devices holding what one agent called serious evidence of control. That discovery lined up perfectly with what Deal had been saying for years. That Diddy didn't just run a label, he ran a whole network of leverage. People stayed close because walking away felt dangerous. And once you see it from that angle, the whispers about Snoop stop sounding like random talk and start looking like part of a bigger system.
He was gang related, so it was like our first meeting was on bad terms because we were still gang affiliated and we were using gang terminology on the entrance.
Snoop's name almost never pops up in stories like this. He's the guy joking with Martha Stewart on TV, cracking jokes during the Paris Olympics, and sitting in a coach's chair promising straight honesty and good vibes. He's seen as the country's cool uncle, not someone tied to shadowy industry drama. But Deal's claims slice right through that clean image. He says Diddy and Snoop weren't just connected through music, they were linked through money in ways that went way deeper than regular business. Deep enough that Diddy could allegedly use that history to make Snoop move how he wanted. Deal even hinted that Diddy held private recordings involving several big names, and that Snoop's sudden loyalty wasn't random at all. It was survival.
So him being neutral in the beginning was amazing. And then him choosing sides at the end was a demise.
You can see the pattern once you lay the timeline out. Just months before Diddy's sentencing, Suge Knight called in from a San Diego facility and threw out a wild claim. He said Snoop was secretly trying to help Dwayne. Keith D. Davis, the man charged in the '96 Shakur case. Knight said Snoop wanted Davis out because he talking too much. It sounded out there at first, but with everything we've learned about Diddy being scared of exposure, those words hit different. Keith D's testimony had already tied Diddy to talk about payments linked to that same situation. So if Snoop really did step in to calm things down, it wouldn't be about loyalty. It would be about protecting a shared secret. Suddenly, Snoop's whole transformation over the last decade looks less like a clean reinvention and more like a careful strategy. He went from dealing with serious charges back in the 90s to becoming one of the safest, cleanest brands in entertainment. All those corporate deals, from food delivery to sports partnerships, stacked up and helped bury his rough past under layers of charm. But people in the industry noticed something strange. Even when Diddy's life started crumbling under investigations, Snoop stayed completely silent. No distance, no hints, no commentary from a man who normally talks about everything. That silence hit hard. According to insiders close to Deal, that silence wasn't accidental. It was controlled. The kind of silence someone keeps when they know eyes are on them, and one wrong word could unlock the past.
Personal story and on things she observed in Cassie. But, I don't think it's the same as blowing up Kid Cudi's car if the jury believes that Diddy did it. I don't think it's the same as...
Meanwhile, Diddy's downfall wasn't just personal. It exposed a whole system working in the shadows. Prosecutors said he moved people across state lines for private situations, kept hidden recording setups, and used whatever he collected to keep people in line. Former partners called it control through evidence, with one saying, "It wasn't love, it was leverage." That's the same setup Gene Deal has been warning about for years. And if he's right, Snoop isn't some outsider. He might be one of the biggest faces shaped by that machine.
Specifically challenges allegations suggesting that Mr. Combs and his involvement in the 2018 of his former partner Kim Porter, whose passing was officially attributed to natural causes by the Los Angeles County coroners.
What makes this whole situation even wilder is how Snoop's public moves shifted after Diddy got arrested. Instead of stepping back, he seemed to lean in, showing up at events linked to Diddy's old team and reportedly sending support to shared associates. People in the industry started asking why someone with a clean, family-friendly brand would stay tied to a man facing federal heat. Then the whispers hit, claims that Diddy's legal team had tapes way too compromising to ever surface, involving several A-list names, and the name people kept hearing was Snoop's. No one's seen the footage and no outlet has confirmed it. But Gene Deal keeps saying it's real, insisting Diddy keeps everything because that's how he survives. While Snoop pushed his image as a mentor and family man, Suge Knight kept tearing that picture apart from behind bars. In separate interviews, he accused Snoop of having a role in Shakur's downfall and said Snoop sticking close to Diddy now wasn't loyalty. It was part of something deeper. They all learned from the same playbook, Knight said, pointing at industry veterans like Clive Davis and Russell Simmons, two men Gene Deal also blamed for helping shape Diddy into what he called a monster. Every statement tied another thread into a long history of power, secrets, and loyalty built on fear. As these accusations started bubbling up, Diddy's old partners began slipping out of sight. Executives resigned quietly, artists wiped old photos, and some of Diddy's closest people stopped picking up their phones completely. But Snoop stayed right in the spotlight, smiling on TV, showing up at big events, acting like nothing around him had shifted. To some, that looks like confidence, but to others, it feels like someone trying a little too hard to look untouched.
Man, I feel good, man. I feel good way before the sentencing, and I'm gonna feel good way after it. You know what I'm saying? That the sentencing don't have anything to do with how I feel. It just goes me to show that tells me when God puts you in a position and puts you in a place to be involved in something, his word ain't never wrong.
The timing says everything. Gene Deal spoke just days after the sentencing, right when images of Diddy crying were everywhere. God is good, Deal said, calling the moment divine payback for all the manipulation and betrayal he claims to have witnessed. For him, Diddy's fall wasn't just justice. It was a sign that the whole system he built was finally cracking apart. And if Snoop was tied to that system, even without meaning to be, then his world of endorsements and family-friendly TV deals could be the next thing at risk. The fear isn't about Snoop losing fans, it's about the evidence Diddy allegedly kept, the kind that can end more than careers. What hits hardest is how fast the narrative flipped. 1 year ago, Snoop was the smiling face of the NBC Olympics, cracking jokes and charming millions. Now his name sits next to talk of federal raids, hidden tapes, and old grudges that just won't stay buried. The same man praised for coaching youth football is now being accused by insiders of running defense for a mogul facing charges that could reshape hip-hop history. Every new interview, Gene Deal drops piles on more pressure and dares others to finally speak up. And each time he talks, more names start slipping out, making it feel like something bigger is right around the corner. For now, nobody in Snoop's camp has addressed a thing. his team keeps booking upbeat TV spots, and his social pages stay covered in brand partnerships like nothing's happening. But behind that polished calm, inside is whisper about Diddy's archives. The same files Homeland Security allegedly grabbed, packed with recordings of meetings, conversations, and situations stretching back decades. If even a piece of that involves Snoop, it would explain everything. His caution, his sudden alliances, and the quiet favors he's reportedly doing for what's left of Diddy's business circle. And with all the public heat surrounding Diddy, the real question isn't whether the evidence exists. It's how long it can stay buried, and what Snoop is still being asked to do to keep those files from ever seeing daylight.
And as soon as I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom, I threw up. I just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there and cleaned me up.
Behind every shiny empire, there's always a number. And in this story, that number is $1 million. Investigators say Diddy once offered that amount for the heads of Shakur and Suge Knight. The claim comes from Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, whose 2009 recorded talk with law enforcement just resurfaced in court files. He said Diddy was ready to drop millions to end his feud with Death Row Records. And back then, Snoop was on that same label, stuck between two dangerous worlds, one driven by Knight's aggression and the other by Diddy's ambition. It makes you wonder if that old war planted the roots of the loyalty we're seeing now, the loyalty Gene Deal describes with fear, frustration, and memories of a friendship built on survival.
Nah, nigga, what's happening?
I own Death Row, so I do what the fuck I want to do.
2 decades later, Snoop stepped in and bought what was left of Death Row for an undisclosed price. On the surface, it looked like a full-circle win, the student coming back to own the whole classroom. But Suge Knight, still locked up, didn't see a win at all. In one phone interview, he said, "Show me the paperwork. Show me what you own," accusing Snoop of not truly buying the label and calling the whole thing a flop dressed up for the public. To Suge, it wasn't Snoop's empire. It was another layer of Diddy's reach. And when you line up the timelines, the picture gets sharper. Diddy's legal world collapsing under federal raids while Snoop suddenly steps out to revive a label once at war with him. That doesn't feel random. It feels planned. And at the same time, the lawsuits around Snoop started stacking up. In 2023, a civil case resurfaced accusing Snoop of an assault tied to a backstage moment from years earlier. The filing stayed quiet, barely hitting headlines. But insiders say Diddy's team already knew about it before it reached the courts. That detail matters because the people who hear things first are usually the ones holding the real leverage. When Gene Deal said Snoop has to do all the dirty work, this is the kind of trap he was talking about. Not alley crimes, but invisible favors, late-night calls, and quiet silence that keep secrets locked away. What if this was never about friendship or loyalty at all? What if Diddy built something darker? A psychological setup where loyalty turns into dependence. Gene Deal said Diddy wasn't born a monster. He was shaped by mentors who use manipulation like a business strategy. And that idea isn't new in entertainment. Make someone believe their whole career depends on you, and they'll never risk crossing you. But in Diddy's world, the trap might have been way deeper. Former insiders claim he didn't just hold contracts, he held footage, recordings, and evidence of moments too private to ever survive daylight. And anyone who tried to walk away got quiet reminders that those tapes were still in the vault.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right now.
Snoop's charm, his clean image, his shift from outlaw to full-blown household brand. What if none of that was creative freedom but strategic compliance? Every TV appearance, every endorsement, every friendly storyline might not have been for the fans at all, but for protection. As Diddy's empire started cracking under indictments and raids, Snoop's image got softer and more universal, almost like he was becoming the safe public face the machine still needed. If Diddy was going down, someone had to hold the spotlight and keep the legacy looking polished while he sat behind bars. This is why Deal calls it dirty work. It's not about street crimes. It's about keeping illusions alive.
But what people I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge, iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some very, very...
And then there are the tapes, devices Homeland Security confirmed seizing during the raids on Diddy's homes. Some reportedly held footage investigators labeled sensitive. And while no one outside the case has seen what's on them, people close to the raids say the files stretch far beyond Diddy's private moments. They claim the recordings include interactions with artists, executives, and major public figures. And if even a piece of that involves Snoop, the fallout goes way past simple blackmail. It points to an entertainment machine running under quiet pressure for years. Tours, collaborations, big reunions, all moving under silent coercion while everyone smiles on camera but rarely speaks the whole truth.
I don't buy for a minute that he's going to prison without getting out of here somewhere and stashing $2 billion or whatever. I think he has that kind of power, meaning Sean himself. But remember, it goes a lot deeper than that.
We've heard the whispers claiming those recordings were organized like insurance files, labeled, sorted, and archived by name, each file acting like leverage, each name tied to obedience. And if that's real, then Snoop staying untouched by scandal isn't luck at all. It's alignment. He plays the role the machine expects, staying valuable, marketable, and clean enough to keep the spotlight off the chaos underneath. In a world built on control, the biggest danger isn't exposure. It's becoming useless. Because once you stop serving the system, you stop being protected, and you turn into part of the evidence. We also can't ignore Suge Knight's warning from early 2025, shared in a phone interview that spread briefly before disappearing. He said nobody, not Jay-Z, not Dr. Dre, not even Snoop, was willing to defend Diddy or call him out. On the surface, the silence looked like simple self-preservation, just people refusing to step into another man's mess. But the longer that silence held, the more it felt coordinated. In an industry where every headline is monetized and every quote is rehearsed, collective quiet speaks louder than any statement. It shows how fragile the balance behind the scenes really is. And this isn't the first time hip-hop's top tier has closed ranks when trouble hits. We've watched artists vanish from collabs overnight, executives erase credits, and longtime associates act like old photos never existed. Those moves aren't random. They're defensive plays. When Suge said, nobody's stepping up, he wasn't calling them weak. He was pointing out a shared code. Speak up and you risk becoming the next target. It's an era where protection doesn't come from loyalty, but from mutual vulnerability. Everybody has something sitting in a vault, and everybody knows it. And if Gene Deal and Suge are right about the recordings, the tapes don't just expose individuals, they lock in a whole economy of silence. The fear isn't Diddy himself anymore. It's what those archives symbolize. For every artist shown in a clip, there's a producer who set up the camera, a manager who booked the room, and a lawyer who drafted the NDA. That chain runs so deep that nobody can break it without damaging themselves too. So the industry ends up in a stalemate, a culture of quiet where everyone waits and prays the next leak doesn't have their name attached.
To not be involved with a famous singer, to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those. This is what I heard. They're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big, big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out. He does not want it to come out.
We have to consider the chance that Diddy's influence was just the surface of a much bigger setup, one built by labels, promoters, and financiers who knew exactly how profitable control could be. In that light, Snoop's role looks less like submission and more like strategy. Staying visible keeps him valuable, and staying quiet keeps him safe. And that same logic could apply to plenty of others. Moguls, hitmakers, and major names all moving inside an unspoken pact where survival depends on silence. It isn't about who's guilty, it's about who can afford to look innocent the longest.
Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very, very powerful political figures, and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein himself?
Of course not.
Of course.
And that brings us to the darkest question of all. What if the silence isn't fear but strategy? What if everyone already believes the tapes are real and they're just waiting to see who gets exposed first? If that's the case, this story isn't just about Diddy's empire or Snoop's choices. It's about an entire industry built on secrets woven so tightly that pulling one thread could tear the whole structure apart. The moment someone finally breaks that silence, it won't just end a career. It could shatter the illusion of control the music world has been selling for decades. Suge Knight's accusations, Gene Deal's testimony, and Keith D's revelations all point in the same direction. A hidden network running for decades. And the more pieces we put together, the more it looks like a hierarchy of silence, with Diddy holding the files, Snoop standing in the center keeping the image polished, and a whole generation of artists too scared to speak because any conversation might have been recorded. When we look at it this way, Diddy's fall isn't the end of an era. It's the unraveling of a script that's been running since the 90s. And here's the twist we can't ignore. If those tapes are real, and if Snoop truly became the face that keeps the brand looking alive, then this isn't about one artist covering for another. It's a whole system built on fear and control. Careers, endorsements, and even the nostalgia people grew up with might be shaped by pressure behind the scenes. One leak, one confession, could rewrite the history of West Coast music in ways nobody's ready for. So we have to wonder, if Diddy built his empire on blackmail, and Snoop ended up as the most famous piece in that puzzle, how many other stars are still performing stories that aren't really theirs? And when the curtain finally drops, will people be ready for what was real the whole time? Drop a comment, hit like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you on the next one.